Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni muli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Javli, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. This is a special Protecting the Planet with Your Kids episode of the show, and our guest is Asya Krengauz. She is here to celebrate the green. Before Asya joins us here in the studio, we would love for you to join us on social media. You can find us at facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. We're at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. Our Pinterest page, Reading With Your Kids. Our YouTube channel, Reading With Your Kids. And on Twitter, it's at Jedley Magic. And we most certainly would love for you to join us at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Sign up for our free newsletter. Find out what's coming up on the show. Find out what you might have missed and download all sorts of great goodies. Join us right now from the Chicago area in the great state of Illinois. Our guest is here to celebrate her wonderful novel. It's called The Green. Please welcome to the show, Asya Krengauz. Hey, Asya, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well, but I'm a little bit nervous because while The Green is a work of fiction, there's a lot of potential truth to it. Am I right about that?
Oh, yes. That was the whole point. It's, it's a little too close to home, but that's kind of where we're going, I feel, unless we change something drastically.
So let's talk about what the green is. So when we're talking about the green, we're referring to our planet. Am I right?
Right. It's meant to be the planet, and there's a group of witches, and they draw their power from it. But unfortunately, the green is being depleted by all the humans.
Mm-hmm. And what specifically are they doing in your novel that's depleting it?
Pollution everywhere, just not really caring, just garbage and using, consuming, and just really what we kind of do ourselves. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's where I got the idea from. It wasn't that hard to write. You kind of look around, and that's our world, unfortunately.
You know, I'm glad that you mentioned consumerism. Pollution has been something that I think we've been aware of for a long time. I know when I was younger, cities like Pittsburgh and Los Angeles, they had this haze in the air. And we've done a lot to make that better. We still have a long way to go. But we've been aware of that. And as a nation here in the United States, we've been working towards making that better. But we don't think that we're aware enough of the fact that our constant consumption of goods is really hurting the planet. Can you?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and just how it's hurting us?
So I remember also when I was little, many many moons ago, and you learn about pollution, and I thought, and I think this is really the message is. You kind of you don't throw away on the street. You want to make sure it goes into the garbage and, reuse, reduce, recycle. And we talked about it, but never did I ever understand or hear the message that the more you buy, the more pollution is being produced, right? Because it's supply and demand. So we all buy, especially the worst thing is these single-use items that are wrapped individually in little plastic things. And I never, ever thought about it. Of course we have to throw into the garbage, but then where does the garbage go? And I think most people don't know that. We don't have some magic way to get rid of garbage. We constantly have to produce. And so people it's such a part of our culture. Fashion, for example, fast fashion is a thing I learned about because I consciously went out of my way to learn about this. But that's just so innocent. It's so pretty and so fun. Oh, it's so cheap, and nobody thinks about how much goes into the landfill and how much work goes into each garment and how many items, and it's all non-renewable, and how much, even with renewable items or renewable materials like bamboo or tencel, things that are really like a closed loop system, they're considered. So they are much more sustainable, but there's so much energy that goes into that. I mean, there's just no way we can keep this up. There's just no way. And who talks about that? I don't think many people do. I know there was actually just an article about 2 days ago for Vogue, surprisingly, Greta Thunberg, I don't know how to pronounce it, but this teenager who is a huge activist, and I follow her on all her platforms because I think she's amazing. But she talks about actually coincidentally fast fashion, which is a big part of my book. And I was just like, I'm so happy she's talking about it. Now we need to actually talk about it in schools. Our parents should, or not our parents, but we as parents should teach our kids. Like, the future generation has no clue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have a clue either, and I am aware of Greta's recent public statements, and that started getting me looking, and I heard this term about fast fashion. And, it refers to this approach of, design and creation and marketing that just emphasizes getting the newest trends from the catwalks to consumers. And so that means that when you're getting these new clothes to someone, the old clothes have to go away, and the new clothes are being made. And, of course, they're not being made in your neighborhood. They're being made on the other side of the world, so they have to be transported here. And the fashion industry has a huge carbon footprint. I had no idea. It's one of the biggest contributors in our world today. And a lot of that drive to get that fast fashion, it's an artificial drive. It's
absolutely,
there's no need for me to have 35 T-shirts. And if I have 35, there's no need for me to get a new one. There's no need for me to get, new ones every year. I have clothes that are older than my kids.
That's good. And many people think, I'll just donate. Oh, I wish it worked that way. But most things end up in the landfill. Mm-hmm. Most donation centers, they take stuff, of course, but really the majority of it just isn't going into other people's hands. Like, that would be a closed loop system. And so, yes, if you can shop secondhand, definitely do it, because it's already out there and you're not creating more demand. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, even when we donate, most of it just goes into the landfill. You can recycle fabric, but how many people are doing that? Like, how many people have you heard of doing that? There aren't even recycling centers everywhere. You have to look it up. I mean, it's a lot of effort for something that most people don't even know about. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's a big problem. I'm actually doing this 100-day dress challenge from Wool And, which is a company that produces sustainably sourced merino wool. And the whole idea is to get into more minimalism. So you wear one dress for 100 days, and then you accessorize it differently and change it up. And people get really creative. And the whole idea is to just minimize your wardrobe and base it around a few key items to have less and to kind of appreciate that. So minimalism really goes hand in hand with that, which is another trend, which is kind of on the rise. So I'm happy to say that.
Yeah.
I think I went off track. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, because, here, this is a special episode of the show. It's one of our Protecting the Planet with Your Kids episodes. And I think this awareness that I'm sure that a lot of the parents that are listening to the show are like, wait a minute, fashion is contributing to global warming. Oh, I had no idea. And so now that we're aware of this, now you're a mom, how are we going to best talk to our kids about this and give them this information? We don't want them to make them feel guilty, but we want them to start thinking differently about how they look at fashion and about how they're making choices, and encourage them to make their own choices. And how are you going to do that with your kids?
I think I'm lucky in the sense that my kids are really young, and I already knew about this. Mm-hmm. a few years ago, and my kids are almost, or my son will be 4 in December. My daughter will be 2 in November. And so I kind of already have this concept of minimalism. Like, they literally have like 3 pairs of clothes each. And we just rotate that. And the reason is because they're going to outgrow it, tomorrow. Like, why, I know people have unbelievable wardrobes for their kids. And yes, it's cute and it's adorable, but you're going to outgrow it in 5 minutes. We get a lot of things secondhand, but I guess I don't make a big deal out of it. We don't really go to stores and buy a lot of stuff. A lot of our toys are secondhand, or I got them at Goodwill. You can buy unbelievable toys for unbelievable prices, like $1 for their favorite toy or something like that. And we try to have a very minimal amount of toys. We're certainly not like going to the toy store and pick out whatever you want. And I really want to teach them the value of just less. So like, kids can play with anything. They do not need a fancy, top of the line, plastic, ringy toy with bells and whistles. Like, they find a rock and a stick or something, and they can just entertain themselves with that. And so I see it naturally. I feel like almost you don't have to introduce it to them so much as you have to not introduce them to consumerism. Mm-hmm. As far as kids who are already kind of in that, I think you can talk to them about maybe not expecting gifts from people, because maybe people brought some food or something consumable, or maybe you could have birthday parties with a theme of not giving a gift. And so people have to think outside the box. Maybe it has to be, an experience, a gift card to some place, maybe some unbelievable cake they made or something that is less wasteful. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of start introducing, I think the idea is to make it fun. And that was the idea of my book. It kind of went downhill in the sense that I got a little passionate with it. So originally it was supposed to be this like lighthearted, fun thing that, people who don't care about the planet will also read. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I do think it's a little bit like more than that. I think really you have to already be interested in protecting the environment to read it. But the idea is to kind of make it fun. Like, don't make it a big deal. Like, no, we're not going to buy stuff. It's really bad. Like, nobody wants to hear that, and that's really not motivating. So I think it's just about, like, we already have this toy. What else can you do with it? And also, yes, people like new things. Of course, we're stimulated by new things. So maybe rotating things like toys is a really good idea. So you have, half the toys out, and then you put half away, and then in a month you take it out, and they're like, oh my God, it's new toys. And it's not. So things like that are really nice. You could do toy exchanges with other families if you know anybody with other kids. Mm-hmm. That's a really awesome idea, I think, that I've done with my friend, where you kind of just share toys and then they think it's all new and, it's not bought. Things like that. Just you have to get creative. I think if you already have the intention, you're going to think of ways to do that, I think, to make it happen.
Yeah. And, if anybody's out there thinking, oh, but I just love, my kids are so special. I just love giving them new gifts. And it's like, yeah, that's nice. But wouldn't your kid rather have a healthy planet? When you think about it,
I think it's not just that. Like, it is overwhelming to have a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. It is overwhelming. I mean, you have a toy room full of toys, and they're just going to be like, oh, I'm bored. But if you have a few toys, they get much more creative. I know my kids have. Mm-hmm. I got rid of a lot of toys. I got rid of a lot of our toys recently because we moved, and I was like, that's it. Like, it's going to be so clean, and it is. And they've really started playing with the toys a lot more than they used to. We had a lot more toys. Yeah. And I know that that's not just something I'm saying. Like, you can look into it. Actually, there is research behind it. I unfortunately can't cite anything off the top of my head, but kids get overwhelmed, just like adults do. Mm-hmm. If you have a ton of stuff, you just don't even know what to do or what to use. It's just overwhelming. So yeah, I mean, it's fun to buy new stuff. That's called retail therapy. I understand that. It's really fun to go buy something like an experience and then, enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this, reading The Green together with your kids or co-reading it and then talking about it on the way to dance class or school or being locked down because there's a new variant of COVID that's keeping us all inside. But having a conversation with our kids to help them understand that a lot of the need that they feel, a lot of the desire that they seem to have to get something new, it's artificial and it's being created by the companies that want our money.
That's well said.
Yeah. And, and it's important for us as we're talking to our kids about what we're reading, what they're consuming, it's important for them to understand that toy companies want to sell you toys. And the way they do that is to try to get you to think you need this toy. The same with fashion and the same with laptop makers and cell phone. I've had the same smartphone for, 6 or 7 years right now, and it still works fine.
Amazing.
Yeah. But, these companies, they intentionally create their new products so that you can't swap in, you can't fix anything. I need to buy a new one. Yeah. So
they're good at it. They know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, they invest, I don't know, millions into market research. Like, it's amazing. And so, yes, of course they're literally playing mind tricks with us. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think I'm smarter than that, but it's hard. Like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's like Inception.
Mm-hmm. It is hard. And no matter how intelligent a person may be, that's one person with one intelligence out there against multinational corporations. Absolutely. With armies of marketers and science behind them that are playing with your mind and trying to get you to act in a certain way. And, when, as parents and educated people, we're having a hard time dealing with that. Just imagine how hard it is for our kids to resist it. So it's so important for us to have conversations. And I think having conversations around reading a book like The Green, that's the way to go, instead of sitting down and saying, Asya, we have to have this conversation now.
I mean, that was the idea. Like, I just felt so helpless, and I read this book called 101 Ways to Go Zero Waste, meaning to reduce your waste. And I was working at the time, I'm a speech language pathologist, and I was working at the time in this autism clinic. And there was like immense amounts of garbage, and it just killed me. It was like a bleeding heart watching this, and I just felt so helpless. And that's when I got this idea of, like, it would be really cool to write a book. It would be fiction. It would be a fun story. It talks about the environment. Like, I want to get the message out there without lecturing me, like, hey, plastic straws that are disposable are really bad, blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Go shut up. Like, go sit down. Nobody cares. And that was my experience. So that was the idea. I just wanted to reach a larger audience. I think that's the way to do it. I'm going to, keep on promoting this book because I feel like this message is so important. And it's just, we can't talk about it too soon. Like, we have a problem. We're in it. Mm-hmm. Unless we do something, like, it's not good. It's not looking good at all right now.
Yeah. And one of the reasons I love this message that you're sharing, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, especially for our Protecting the Planet with Your Kids segments, is that I think what we don't want to do is to terrify our kids and get them to the point where there's nothing they can do. Because honestly, if they're sitting back and they're thinking, all right, the world's done in 12 years, so let's have a party. Let's just go out with a bang. We don't want them thinking like that. Instead, sitting down, reading, sharing this message that you have in The Green, letting kids know that they can make a difference just with the decisions that they make by wearing a dress for 100 days and accessorizing in different ways and sharing. I grew up with hand-me-down clothes. I can't remember the first pair of new jeans I had. We didn't call them jeans. We called them dungarees. It was a different world not all that long ago. where,
Right.
reusing things and sharing.
Absolutely.
We're talking in my lifetime. And now, granted, I'm almost 100 years old, but still.
I doubt that. I doubt that very much.
It wasn't that long ago where it was the norm to share and to recycle and to reuse. And so we need to get back there. It's good for our souls and it's good for our planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I did want to have that message of hope in this book. There are companies doing unbelievable things with garbage and making things out of them that are so useful. Like, there is hope. We just need it on a much grander scale.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the reaction to the green been so far?
I feel like I haven't reached my key audience. I mean, I've had some people read it and some people who were actually, into like the zero waste movement. And zero waste, I think, is a misnomer. Zero waste just means you're trying to reduce the waste as much as you can. Those people were like, wow, this is an amazing message. I think other people who weren't already kind of keen on it were like, oh, okay, like, it's a nice book. And I didn't really get that reaction. And I guess I kind of expected that because I do think it's a little bit over the head, but I don't mean over like too highbrow or anything. I mean over the head, like it really like keeps the point going, right? And I really think it's for people who are already interested and maybe want to share it with their kids in a way that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I really need to reach the right audience, people who actually care about the environment already, which, I mean, I guess I'm preaching to the choir, but they have kids and they want to share this message and, you want to keep that going. It would be nice, and maybe I will in the future write something a little bit more toned down to reach a wider audience. Because, you can't scream from the rooftops like, stop all pollution. Who's going to do that? No one. That's too extreme. And so I know this book hammered this point home. I get that. So hopefully in the future I'll have something that's a little more toned down for the more general public.
But I think you make a good point, and I'm glad you actually made it, because there are, in every family, there is that aunt or uncle who is really into this. And so those are the people who like picked up your book and, yeah, I got this. This is great. Me and my kids, we're going to have a great time with this.
Yes.
And those people, because not everybody's going to be on board with this whole not giving a gift thing. So if, Aunt Asya comes to the birthday party and she doesn't bring a gift, she just brings her earthy, crunchy theories, no one's going to be happy with that. But Aunt Asya can bring a gift card, or can gift the ebook of the green to their nieces and nephews and spread the message that way, and to talk to their nieces and nephews and then get that message to them and have this conversation with them. And so
I love that.
Yeah, so maybe the parents aren't ready for it yet, but we share it with the kids, and then the kids, once they hear it, they're going to be on their parents and converting their parents.
I love that. I hope that's what happens. That's such a beautiful idea. Like, that would be amazing. I didn't even think of it that way, actually. Like, that's just beautiful. I would love for it to spread. And I feel like Greta is a huge inspiration to me. I mean, she is one teenager who was like, no, enough. This is BS. And I love that. I love it. Like, she screamed it from the rooftops. It's amazing. She
did. And we're going to help you scream this from the rooftops. I want to encourage everybody out there to do a little guerrilla marketing campaign for Asya here. Go out there. Get those gift those ebooks, because you don't have to reuse them. There's no waste with an ebook. Get the ebooks into the hands of your nieces and nephews and cousins and everybody else, and start spreading, having some great conversations with your extended family about this message that you are so passionate about. Hey, Asya, tell everybody where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about the green.
Absolutely. So I have recently become much more active on Instagram. The handle is @author Asya Krengauz. I really got inspired with this 100-day dress challenge, and I just started posting. So I'm really aiming to post every single day for 100 days. And then also you can find my website, asyakrengauz.com. And then the book is on Amazon. So you just look up the green, but you have to put in my name because there are many things called the green something. So you have to put in the green, and as soon as you start typing ASYA, it pops up.
Awesome. And, we definitely want to do that and, just share this message with as many people as we can.
Thank you.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Green, a great book that inspires some great conversation about our planet and about the role consumerism is playing in its destruction. And our guest has been Asya Krengauz. Hey, Asya, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Alexis Weinfrob. She'll be here to celebrate Zaza's sensational superpower. It's going to be a really, really fun conversation. You don't want to miss it. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you are the author of a fantastic children's book, you may be frustrated at just how difficult it is to let the world know about your book. I mean, after all, there are literally thousands of books published, not every year, every month. Yes, thousands of books published every single month. It's really hard for a book to stand out in that crowd. We can help you. Our Certified Great Read program has helped many authors, and we would love to help you too. Please go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page, scroll on down to Certified Great Reads. Hey, I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Asya Krengauz. Be sure to check out The Green. Also want to thank my team, Alejandra Doherty, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.